Hi friends, in this video I will tell you about the movie, The Mad Women's Ball. Eugenie, along with thousands of people, sees off a famous writer. During the ceremony, the girl starts to have a seizure, but she manages to stop herself in time. She is late for dinner and lies to her parents that she was at her friend's house. Only her brother Théophile realizes that she is lying and smiles. To change the subject, the guy starts talking about the upcoming debate, and Eugenie asks permission to attend the event with her brother, but her father refuses, reminding her that it is not proper for a lady to participate in such a thing. Before going to bed, the girl enters the bathroom and has another seizure, during which she talks to someone, but Eugenie pulls herself together again, noticing her grandmother at the door, who is waiting for her granddaughter for the regular evening ritual. In the morning, Théophile is going to the debate and catches her sister, who has been forbidden by her father to go, in her carriage. But the girl is not going to the meeting, but only asks her brother to drive her to the outskirts of the city, where she can quietly read a book and smoke in secret from her strict parents. The disgruntled guy, although not thrilled with the idea and his participation, but he cannot refuse his favorite sister. Having bought a fresh bun, Eugenie comes to a simple cafe, where she smokes a cigarette and reads poetry, looking at the guy at the next table. Noticing this, the stranger strikes up a conversation and lends the girl a book about spirits, leaving a note with his name on the first page and making her promise to meet again to get the book back. In the evening, while reading the gifted book, Eugenie shares her acquaintance with her brother. The brother rests his head in his sister's lap and listens to her read. The next day, the family arrives at the neighboring estate where Théophile's fiancée lives. This union is very important to the father, and he remains extremely displeased when Eugenie offends the young bride. Because of this, there is conflict in the family. Christmas Eve comes. Eugenie puts up the tree with her brother and the young people climb into the attic to get the Christmas decorations, at which point the girl again has a seizure and confesses that now she sees many different spirits, not just one man as before. Eugenie frankly tells her brother about it and asks him not to be frightened, because in the book that the guy in the cafe lent her, it is written that there are a lot of people like her. Eugenie goes to her grandmother's bedroom again to comb her hair and put her to bed. But at some point, the girl drops everything she is doing and starts going through things in the closet, from where she pulls out a pendant that was lost 40 years ago. When asked by her grandmother how she knew about it, the girl admits that her late grandfather told her about it. In the morning, the girl is awakened by her worried mother and says that she and her father are going to the neighboring estates again, so the woman asks her daughter to behave herself and not to say too much. Noticing tears in her mother's eyes, the girl thinks that this is only concern for her behavior, so hugging her mother, she unsuspectingly sets out to visit. On the way, Eugenie notices a travel bag in her father's legs and realizes that they are not going to visit. Looking out the window, the girl does not recognize the road, but noticing the mentally ill women in the garden, she understands everything. Unfortunately, it turns out to be too late. The carriage stops at the gates of a mental hospital, where her father brought Eugenie after her brother shared her secret with him. The nursing staff immediately took the girl under their arms, ignoring her screams, and only Théophile was able to keep his composure, crouching beside the carriage from feeling sick. The head of the family signed the document in which he indicated his consent to the forced treatment of his daughter. The head nurse, Genevieve, examines the new girl and immediately tells her that any disobedience threatens solitary confinement here. Eugenie arrives in the shared bedroom and is immediately shocked at where she has entered. Dozens of women, half of them behaving absolutely inadequately, try to touch the young patient at once, but Louise comes to the girl's aid. A young woman with apparent mental problems, but the impression is that this is caused by the local treatment and environment. The patient is talking non-stop, telling about her engagement to a young Dr. Jules and the fact that every year the clinic hosts a costume ball for the rich and officials. At lunch, Louise introduces the new girl to the locals, talking in detail about each patient. The first night is very difficult for Eugenie and she hardly sleeps, but in the morning the girl observes the head nurse taking Louise somewhere, and from their conversation it becomes clear that this is a regular practice. Louise is brought to a large office where dozens of doctors are gathered. Among them is this very Jules, smiling at the patient in a way that no one but him would notice. The head doctor of the hospital, Dr. Charcot, starts the hypnosis session, and when the girl falls to the floor, he calmly walks over her and says goodbye to everyone until the next session. The patient is transferred to the nurse's station, where she comes to her senses and is visited by Dr. Jules, who drives out the medical staff and, taking advantage of the girl's naivety, tells her that very soon at a costume ball he will propose to her. After that, the doctor runs one hand under the girl's dress and with the other hand makes himself a pleasure. Choosing a small free moment, Genevieve runs home to visit his elderly father and have lunch with him, telling him the latest news from the clinic. Back at work, Genevieve comes to visit the new girl and Eugenie addresses the nurse on behalf of the head nurse's deceased sister. The woman does not want to hear or believe what the insane woman is saying, ordering her to shut up. The doctor examines the patients and administers Eugenie cold water therapy with chunks of ice, which finally breaks the girl. Théophile tracks down Genevieve and asks her to help Eugenie, confessing that he is very sorry for what he has done. The man asks her to give him a book. After thinking for a while, the nurse tells Eugenie about her brother and the book, but agrees to give it to her only on the condition that the girl connects her with her dead sister and helps them talk. One night, Genevieve wakes the patient and brings her to her office where they plan to witness a ritual. Eugenie is unable to contact her sister for a long time, but then the deceased woman makes contact and informs her that her sister's father became ill at their home in the kitchen. Dropping everything, the woman runs home and actually finds the man after the seizure. When he asks his daughter how she knew what happened, Genevieve dares to confess, but receives only criticism and accusations of insanity from her father. After another hypnotherapy session, Louise's legs and one half of her body fail. Seeing this, Eugenie can no longer keep silent and tells the doctors everything she thinks about it, not hesitating in expressions and accusations. For this, the girl is recognized as dangerous and transferred to a solitary dark cell, which is run by the stern Jean. Food is given to the patient through a window at the bottom of the door. The only shutters are opened only from time to time. It seems that all this therapy is aimed only at finally breaking the will of the patients. One day, when Jean comes to abuse the girl once again, Eugenie tells the warden that she is in contact with her late mother and knows all her secrets. The nurse uses force and releases the girl's throat only when she can't breathe at all. Genevieve remembers what happened and secretly tells the girl that he will help her to get out of the clinic. She just needs to be patient. The nurse convinces Dr. Charcot that the patient has finally lost her will and is no longer dangerous, after which the doctor agrees to transfer the girl back to the general ward, where everyone is preparing for the upcoming ball. Eugenie finds Louise in a wheelchair, but the girl does not lose her spirit and still believes in her upcoming marriage and happy future. At night, Eugenie manages to read a note that Genevieve secretly gave her during the translation. Eugenie's brother receives the same secret letter inviting him to the ball. The ball evening arrives, and rich and influential guests arrive at the clinic to entertain the mentally ill patients. Théophile also arrives by invitation and almost immediately finds his sister, asking her to dance. Jean watches closely, suspecting them of colluding with Genevieve. Some of the guests openly mock the strange women. Others plan to fulfill their animal fantasies, treating the patients to strong drinks and whispering tender words in their ears. Taking advantage of the bustle, Genevieve manages to stealthily lead Eugenie and her brother into his office and, having changed the girl into normal clothes, heads with them to the exit. Jules manages to take advantage of the fun. Taking the chair with Louise, he brought her to an empty office and telling the girl that now their marriage ceremony will take place. Realizing that the paralyzed girl could not resist, the doctor tipped her over on the table, achieving at last what he had dreamed of for so long. One of the elderly patients, who had lived in the clinic for 25 years for avenging her husband for cheating, burst into the office at the moment when Jules was already in full swing doing terrible things, but this did not prevent the old woman from beating the man. Jean noticed the disappearance of the patient and her brother and rushed to look for them. Noticing the fugitives in the corridor, the nurse raised a shout, but Genevieve managed to lead the couple outside the gate, where a carriage was waiting for them. The nurse herself remained on the grounds of the clinic, refusing to flee with Eugenie. A year later, Eugenie writes a letter to her friend, telling her that she is free and happy, living far away from everyone and no longer hiding her abilities, helping those in need. Genevieve reads this with a smile as she sits on a bench in the park of the clinic, but now she walks in this park not as a nurse, but as a patient. This is where the movie ends. Write in the comments what you think about it.